Hey friends and foes, welcome to Brushwork Podcast. My name is Stephanie Scott, and today we're talking about branding photography with my brand photographer, Maryna Holovanova. Maryna has been taking photos of my artwork and branding photos of myself for the last 3 years, and I thought, what better person to have on the podcast than someone who helps me do my job and makes my brand that much more elevated. Today, Maryna and I chatted about her life, how she got started in photography, tips for getting into photography, and also what the process is like for getting photos taken of yourself for your art business. If you are interested in her work and want to see more, there are links in the show notes to her Instagram at Blomquist and also to her website where you can find full information about her work and see her portfolio. Without further ado, here's the interview. I'm so excited to do this.
Okay, cool. So am I.
I think it's going to be fun. Ever since basically I started the podcast, I was like, okay, who should I interview? Because I need some people. I need some people to talk to me. And who better than my branding photographer?
Oh my God, I'm very honored actually, because I know your Brushwork podcast is very interesting to listen to, and it's like in my opinion it's like a new thing. I don't know, maybe there are other podcasts like that out there, but it's like something entirely new to me. So I'm very, very excited and honored to be on that kind of podcast and on a podcast anyways.
Well, welcome in. This is Brushwork, and today we have Maryna Holovanova, and you're here, and I'm so happy you're here. Maryna, give me a brief introduction on what kind of photography you do.
Well, first of all, thanks so much for inviting me. So I do portraiture. So basically that's your portraits and headshots. I do branding photography, which basically means I make portraits of people who have their own businesses, and I'll talk in more detail about that later. And of course, I do product photography and fine art photography, which is a form of product photography. And this is probably what you want to talk to me about, right?
Basically. We love being versatile. We love doing all sorts of photography. We love having multiple income streams. It's very good. What is your favorite kind of photography to do? You get all the options and you're getting paid for all the options. And you're like, do I want to do portraits? Yes. Do I want to do this, do that? What is your favorite one to shoot?
Probably branding, because it's a healthy combo of both. And I like meeting a lot of new people through that kind of branch. I love talking to people from different kind of backgrounds and different, self-made people who create their own thing. It's a fun conversation, and the other thing is I love the results that I get. Like I get these portraits out of them, and I also sometimes if they're creating an actual product, I get to photograph that as well, and that makes me feel like I'm being part of their business as well. So it makes me feel like I belong. It's a very, very good feeling, a very fulfilling feeling.
When I got my photos taken by you the first time, I was like, it kind of felt like I had like a friend in my business, not just like me trying to go at it by myself. And having your own brand photography done is like, oh, look at me, I'm special. I have beautiful photos to show off my artwork, and it's most excellent.
Yeah, I am very glad to hear that you love them, and I look forward to our next photo shoot.
Heck yeah. How'd you get into photography? Like, what was the spark that made you, one, seek out a nice camera, and two, pursue it?
Oh, that was a very long journey before I ended up with, like you said, a nice camera. Yeah, so when I was a kid, I had, I didn't have a camera. My dad was an amateur photographer, and he had these retro cameras that I was not allowed to play with, obviously. But one of them, like a very old, probably pre-Second World War codec I could sort of play with. It hardly worked. That's why I probably wasn't allowed to play with it. And obviously it was a film camera. And so also if you know, like those rolls of film, they're pretty expensive too. So
Yeah.
I was allowed like maybe one every month or so. So you had to be very selective and careful of, you know, what you do with it. And I just sort of just enjoyed, you know, clicking it and getting some kind of result. And that was basically it when I was a child. Then I got my education, which was not related to photography at all.
Oh.
And yeah, and I started working in import export of lighting equipment and that kind of stuff. And but we had a studio where professional photographers would take photos of, you know, goods, and I when I would enter the studio, I was like, wow, this is so cool. I really want to be a part of it. So I helped out and I learned a few things there. And then I wanted to travel the world, stuff like that. And then I ended up working in retail on a cruise ship, and I also helped out as a side gig in the photo lab. And the local photographer there, he was like, you know what, you really have an eye for that sort of thing. And I don't think he meant it. I think he just wanted to get some of the work off his hands. That's what it was, I think.
Classic.
But when he said it, I was like, wow, I really do. That's how I feel. And I think that inspired me. And I learned a lot there because you had to work very fast and you had to edit. I also was amazed at what one could do with modern editing software, because before that, I had no idea you could do those sort of things. And I think this is where I got that spark, like you said. And then originally I'm from Ukraine, and we moved to the United States in 2017. And this is where I was like, you know what? This is where I can actually start doing this, because I did that before. Like I got my camera back in Ukraine and I did some photos for my friends and stuff, but I was like, well, I don't think I'm a professional yet. You know, I'm not there just yet. I need to learn more. And when we moved here, I was like, you know what? I can actually start doing that as a job. And when I landed my first job, I was like, you know what? Yes, I can do it. I feel confident because I still remember that it was my it was a family photo shoot, and it was so much fun. I was very lucky because it was like a fun family, and they were like very present. They were very fun and nice to me and each other, and they would pose and we spent a lot of time on that photo shoot, you know, I wanted like a good result. And then when I looked at these photos, I was like, wow, you know what? I actually like what I did here.
A little confidence. So, we love it.
yes. I think this is where how my journey actually, you know, brought me where I am right now. Yes, eventually I did end up with a very nice camera. Yeah.
That's really cool. How did you find your first clients? Like, how did that all come together where you were like, okay, I actually want to take photos of people and I'd like to get paid for it? How did you develop that?
This was also a very long journey, and I'll try to make it brief. But like I said, at first I just took, you know, free pro bono photos of my friends, of family, and that would make my first portfolio. And then they would recommend me to their friends. And even though right now I'm not focusing on family photo shoots anymore, I still get inquiries for that more often than others, because this is where my background is.
Yeah.
And so also we used to live in Connecticut, where a lot of, you know, kids grow up, and they all needed senior photos, like for their, you know, senior year books, I imagine.
Yes. Yes.
So like, trust me, like when you take 3 good senior portraits, I would say all of these three people, they would recommend you to three other people. So I would say word of mouth is key.
Tell me about a typical workday in your life. What does like just the average day of a professional product photographer look like?
Okay, so it is actually pretty boring. I wake up, I try to exercise, I have my coffee, obviously. I take a cold shower, if especially because coffee doesn't help that much. And then I try to do some editing because mornings are usually pretty productive, and I try to edit whatever I shot before, whatever's on my editing queue. Then I have like a little break. I have my breakfast. Maybe I go out, with my dogs. And then I have to do the part of work which I don't like, but honestly, that makes up most of my day, unfortunately, which means answering emails, doing like making inquiries myself, answering those inquiries that I got, working on my social media, writing up offers, that sort of stuff. It's pretty boring, but you have to do it. If you don't do it, you will have no business. If you don't do it, it's just a hobby. You know what I mean?
That's the truth. Doing emails is the bane of my existence, but you know what? Sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do.
Exactly, and that's a daily thing. Sometimes I postpone it, and that's what creates the problem. Because if you procrastinate on that, they just snowball, and you end up with a lot of work by the end of the week. Then I usually try to do like Zoom with clients or potential clients also during the day, because usually at their lunch break they have their time, so I try to make up time of them during that time, or I reschedule it for later at night, which works during the winter but doesn't work during the summer, because in the summertime I usually try to schedule my photo shoots in the evening. I also I right now I want to say I really miss the times when you used to meet like for coffee with people, just to get to know each other, and to that was just so much more fun to talk to your future clients over coffee rather than over Zoom. But I think that we at some point we just kind of lost that during the pandemic, and now
Yeah.
it's just Zoom.
I also miss meeting clients over coffee and just being casually meeting people. And I've been trying to like pull more of that into my life, but it's missed. It's missed.
It is. And then in my case scenario, whenever I don't do like product photography at home, where at my home studio, if someone actually sent me products to do it here, I sometimes have to go to Seattle, and again during the summertime, spring, fall, less during the winter. I spend quite a bit of time driving. And that's been an experience for a year now, but I find it joyful in its own way. And the rest of the time that I have, if I actually want to relax, I try and relax, like listen to an audiobook or watch a movie. But most of the time, what I do is emailing and editing, editing, editing. This creates like takes up the bulk of my day, if you know what I mean.
You edit all day long, I'm sure.
I either edit or I create like content for my social media, or or I have to like do emails and work on like offers and that kind of stuff. And it's not very fulfilling, but you have to do that kind of thing.
There are definitely tasks painters that have that you have to do, even though you don't want to. And they
Exactly.
get the bills paid.
Yes, you know what I mean.
I feel like sometimes I am painting like 20% of the time, and then I'm like doing everything else 80% of the time, and I want it to be switched, but that's just not realistic. I love that you mentioned that you dedicate some time to resting each day, whether that's reading or hanging out with your husband or whatever, your dogs. And that's good to like prioritize.
The dogs really help because it's one of those things that you can't really skip. And that's why it's in my daily routine. And you kind of have to relax. It's not very relaxing sometimes, like when it's bad weather outside,
It's
but you have to do it, and it actually helps you in the end.
I love that. Okay, so that's a typical day in your life. What does a photo shoot day look like for you?
Oh, that's like the most fun part. But like I said, it doesn't make, like this is like what I live for. The rest of the stuff that I do is like how you get to that. Photo shoot is actually like the most fun part. So you made well, all the things that you prepared, you come to the photo shoot and you do the photo shoot. So if we're talking about fine art photography, for example,
Yeah.
like when we're taking photos of the paintings or let's say sculptures,
Mm-hmm.
I usually do it at the painter's studio, and if they don't have it, I can absolutely do it in my home studio. So you can mail me your fine art, or I can pick it up sometimes and do it here. I set up my photography equipment, which is usually my camera, my tripod, my light stands, and several lights that I use for my setup. And that's it. I take photos. And it's pretty straightforward. It's just you need to set up the light correctly. After you're done with that, you just take photos of the art. After you did that, you can go ahead and edit those photos. I usually send several options, and I send like a copy of a straight out of camera photo, so the artist would see how it looked in camera.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a reference point, if you please. And then I also send several options of edited artwork. What editing in this case means is, yes, your true colors, they're, if we're talking about paintings, for example,
Sure.
they're absolutely beautiful. Like, yes, what you did is a work of art. There is, like, we're not even discussing any other options, but the way web recreates these colors, you need to add a few things here and there, meaning you need to just make them, sometimes you need to make them punchier, add a little vibrance here, reduce a little bit of saturation there. I'm just saying this is as an example, maybe increase some contrast here and there. And what you see right here in the straight out of camera image, it's not going to print well sometimes, or it's not going to look beautiful on Instagram unless you edit it just a little bit. That's what creates a lot of extra work, in development, in editing after you already shot the picture.
Absolutely. I've had Maryna shoot a couple of my paintings in the past. Every time I do it, I get a straight out of camera shot, and then I get a couple edits, usually one that has more highlights, more texture to it, and one that is a little bit more flat and good for Instagram and, and good for prints and things like that. And it's really nice to have these options. I've gone to photographers in the past that they give you the one photo, they edit it how they like, and they're like, is this good? And you have to be like, yes, because they won't change it. And it's nice to get some quality. And I think with Maryna, if you have her take your art photos, it's you get really good customer service, and I think you do that well.
Well, thank you very much. I really try to do my best every time.
Mm-hmm.
And I know from experience what printing means, because I print a lot of my work. I truly believe if you don't print your artwork, in terms of photography,
Mm-hmm.
then you aren't actually doing any photography. You're just, I don't know. I'm not criticizing anybody. I'm just saying that if you print it, you will see the real result. And once you print it, you will see how different it looks like on paper versus on the screen, because we get all of that extra light from the screen. It changes a lot.
It does.
So that's how I came to fine art photography, and I just understand how this works, or I think I do.
It's really quite excellent. What kind of photography do you want to do more of?
I honestly hope working more with brands
Mm-hmm.
and fashion brands, all sorts of product brands. I really want to focus on that sort of work more, and that's like the goal.
It's a good goal. It's a good goal. Okay, so this next question I'm going to ask you is one I've been asking a lot of people in my life, especially creative people, and I think the answer is always very interesting. Do you remember the very first time you felt creative in your life? What was that like?
Um, I yes, I do. I do.
Yeah?
I was actually around 5 or 6 years old, and I made some furniture for my dolls out of matchboxes.
Yeah? Cute?
Yes, yes. I distinctly remember it took up a whole day, and I remember we had a two-story house, so my room was on the second floor, on the first floor, and I remember distinctly going up and down like to the ground floor and asking my grandma to can you please give me more matchboxes, and she was at first she was like sure, and then but without the matches, obviously, like the empty
What are you
ones.
setting on fire?
No, I explained it to her like I want to build these little houses, like furniture a house and furniture for my dolls. And she's like, "Well, how many are you gonna need? Like I already gave you like these many." And I'm like, "Well, I need two more." And I probably wasn't very good at planning, so yes, I think I took every single matchbox they had and all the matches. I don't know what they did with them.
That's super cute.
but but it was such a fun project, and I was very proud of it. I glued like paper, and I had like the remains of wallpaper and some, I don't know, like tissue paper. I decorated it. I remember that it was a very fun project. Yes.
That's that's perfect. Do you remember being praised for that creativity with that project?
No.
No. Or even
I
encouraged? I mean, your
I don't.
grandmother gave you the matchboxes.
Yes, yes, she was actually excited that I decided to do something like that, but I don't remember if anybody would say like, "Oh my God, that was such an amazing thing that you did." But I do remember playing with it, and I just had the feeling, fulfilling feeling. You know what I mean? I think that was my own praise to myself. That was, I don't ever remember anybody saying that, like, good job. I don't think I needed it. I was very proud of myself at that point.
That's really good. I think that right there is something that any sort of creative person really needs. It's like the pride in themselves of what they make. And when you can establish that early at 5 years old, oh my gosh, that's fantastic. when is when is the first time you felt that way about a photograph?
Oh, okay. I think it's harder to remember that moment
Hmm.
because, like I said, there were certain stages at which I tried to do that, and I tried and failed, and maybe I gave up, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe I got distracted, or I was busy or something.
Yep.
First one, I think it was a picture of my dog, my first dog ever, back in Kiev. I took. So that was like a nicer sort of camera that I got. It wasn't a really nice camera, but it was a camera where you could actually control like shutter speed and
Yeah.
aperture. So I invested some time taking that photo, and this is the yes, I took a picture of my dog, and I was like, wow, he looks really good here. And well, at the time, for me, getting a portrait with like a pretty bouquet, that was the goal. Like if I got that, that was cool.
You're like, I'm a winner. This is happening.
Yes, yes. But that one, I think it was a random chance that created that photo. I don't think there was a lot of skill and effort there, but the light was really good, and he was sitting in this like very pretty pose. I think that was it.
That's a good feeling. Do you still have that photo up somewhere?
I think so, but I don't think I have it like on my as my screensaver.
I
But
definitely have old paintings that I made, and I have a couple that I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna lead to somewhere good, and I have them stored away in my back cabinets, getting dusty, but I'm like, I think I should hold on to these forever, even though I look at them now and I'm like, this is a beginner's work, and they're not very skilled, but I remember being really proud of them, and that feels good.
I know what you mean, but the difference is all of your work is like, do I want to say analog?
Exactly.
It's like you can actually, and you don't produce as many photos as I do, because I just have so many,
Yeah.
and I have to archive them in a certain hard drive. It's like that really old work. Oh, it's pretty difficult to access. You know what I mean?
I believe it. I make maybe 25 to 40 paintings in a year, and I'm sure you shoot like 100,000 photos in a year or something.
Oh,
Just,
roughly about that
yeah,
number, yeah.
I believe it. Just insane. It's fun to think about where we came from in our creative path and how we got here to where we are, and I think that's really really cool. I love the sense of style that your photography has. I think when I see your photos, I always know it's you because I see the color palette and I see the way you compose your images, and even if they're not photos that we've taken of me in the past for my business. And how how have you cultivated that style in the past? Do you know that you have a style or like a theme to your
Oh,
work?
it's a very good question. I am obsessed with style and aesthetics,
Hmm.
and I absolutely um this isn't my number one priority when I'm working, but definitely a strong number two priority.
Yeah.
Like I definitely want to make photos look good in camera right away. But a lot of what you see as an end result is the result of hours and hours of editing. Like literally, I'm not exaggerating.
Oh, I believe you.
I can spend from maybe 12 hours on one photo session in post processing to sometimes very unproductive 24 hours. And I'm, of course, not, continuously, but throughout the week. Yes, that much. I know a lot of photographers who are fantastic at editing. They do it like this, very fast. Like they can do it in a couple of hours. I can't do that. I am a perfectionist. I'm trying to stop being that, because I know they're good, because I was told they're good. I was told that people are happy with the results, but I'm every
Hmm.
time pushing for, let's make it a little better. I think I can make the colors a little prettier, and so on and so forth. And of course, I'm comparing my work to other people. I'm comparing my work to my previous work. I literally sometimes put a photo that I liked, that I took before, that I edited. I put it like on the left, on a separate screen, or maybe like in a corner, and then I start editing these new photos of this new photo session. I'm like, is it as good as that one? No. Okay, then I need to do this and that and that. And this is how I end up spending so much time. But I think it's a worthy investment, because when I actually love what I ended up with, that's the best feeling you can ever get.
It really is, and it shows how much you care about your craft here when you put that much energy and time into making it match your vision, which is very fun. And yeah, I love it. I love your photos. They're so good. um, what sort of advice would you give to a young photographer who is trying to build their brand and their image and their style?
Oh wow, that's a really difficult question. Okay, so first, several pieces of advice, probably. First of all, don't be shy with your first work. Like I would give the advice, based on the mistakes that I made. So don't be shy about posting, showing off your work if you think it's even if you think it's not good enough. In the beginning, it doesn't matter. First of all, not a lot of people are looking, so it doesn't matter, but you still need to be there. Like, I missed out a lot on not doing Instagram and social media in the very beginning because I was like, no, I'm not good enough. I think that perfectionism is good in one thing, but it's not good here. So just go ahead and post all the work that you do right away.
I second that. That's good
Yes,
advice.
if people like it, they like it. That's amazing. If they don't, who cares? Seriously, nobody cares. And second of all, don't be afraid to work for free in the beginning. It's okay. It's like, it doesn't mean people don't value you. It's just the way the world is, because there is so much competition. Even right now, I work for free sometimes. I to just to develop my skill further, to try new things, to make photo sessions that I actually want to do instead of what the client wants. That's the kind of photo sessions that I shoot for free. Also, try collaborations. For example, if you're working with, I don't know, like, this is how we started working with Stephanie here. I offered her a collaboration, like I could shoot a few portraits of you in exchange for a piece of your artwork. This is the kind of thing that you could do sometimes. But at that point, you already need to kind of establish your style and to know what to do. So you could actually have something to offer for that kind of work or product or something like that. So this is something that I think is pretty important.
Absolutely. Maryna and I met when I had my artwork up at a coffee shop in Bellevue, Washington, and she sent me a message, just cold call, and was like, "I like your work. Let's meet up. Do you need some photos?" And I really appreciate that sort of just like willingness to throw yourself out there, because we would never have even gotten here to this podcast, but to have a relationship now for a couple of years of great photos, and we've done trades before with artwork, and I've paid her for other photo sessions. I've gifted them to my mother once, and they're pretty fun. So be gutsy, and reach out to people, because it's going to work out.
That's a great thing to sum it up. Yes, be gutsy. Do it. Just go ahead and do it. And if you fail, I don't remember who said that. If you fail, just do it again. Fail better.
Fail better. I love failing better. That was really good advice. My last question is, if someone is like, okay, I like Maryna's work, I want a photo session with them, what does that process look like?
Okay, so usually it starts with either me reaching out to you, if we just kind of talked like I don't know, we met through you. I could sometimes just contact you and offer my services because I know all artists actually need that. So I would definitely contact you if we met and exchanged business cards. But if you reached out to me, you can always go to my Instagram. There is like a link there where you could fill in the form. It's very easy, just your name, email, and phone number, and just a brief description of what kind of photo shoot you need. And as soon as I get that inquiry, I will try to get back to you within the next 24 to 48 hours. So after that, I usually schedule a Zoom meeting, just like this one. But I usually show my face because I usually do the hair. So I'm kidding. Anyway, so we usually talk like this, or we can sometimes meet in Seattle or Bellevue and talk over coffee. I would rather prefer that, but it doesn't happen all the time. So usually it's a Zoom meeting where we get to know each other, and we kind of talk about what kind of photo shoot or what kind of services you actually need. Then we schedule it, and the photography business is very seasonal, so I have a lot more time during the winter and a little bit of time in spring, less time in the summer, and fall is pretty busy because of the upcoming holiday season. And the closer you get to the holiday season, the crazier it gets. It is literally impossible to schedule absolutely anything in November and December unless you did it in the summertime, usually.
If you want holiday photos, get in early.
Yes, because it is true. Everybody wants like a family picture, and like I said before, I don't even focus on family photography anymore. But this is what people want from me more often than everything else. Yes, and so then as soon as we schedule it, I usually ask for a deposit to make sure that you're serious about it, and you actually want to do it, and the deposit is non-refundable, but it is transferable, so you can always reschedule to a certain amount of times a year. And then we do some preparations, like we create a Pinterest board, or just a motivation board where we just brainstorm ideas, what kind of photo shoot you need. If it's a fine art photo shoot, we're obviously not putting portraits there. We're just discussing what kind of fine art photography you're looking for. For example, sometimes you just want to photograph your paintings like corner to corner. That's all you want. But maybe you want them styled. Maybe you don't want to use those mock-ups from Printful or somewhere else. Maybe you want them styled in a pretty room with some fancy furniture or something like that. That all can be arranged. Like, we're talking about those kind of things. And then, of course, we talk about the final result that you want to get. So, like I said, I'm offering several options of editing, so we go through that as well. I also offer contracts, so it's all legitimate, and you feel safe about your investment in this process. We signed that contract, both of us, at the very beginning. I should have mentioned that before. Then the actual photo shoot happens, which is actually the most fun part. And like I said, if we're talking about fine art photography, I can absolutely do that in your studio. I'm not charging anything extra for coming out there, believe it or not. And yes, and I'm pretty happy to do that in most cases. Sometimes, if you live very far away, like I have that. I have that in my FAQ somewhere on my website. Like, a certain distance has to be covered. Like, I don't know. It's there. I promise you, it's there. I don't remember by heart, but like at a certain point, it doesn't make sense for me to go somewhere for, free of charge. But in most cases, like if you're in the Seattle area, I would just come to your studio, and I would take those photos happily for you. I also try to, as I live kind of farther away, I try to just put my photo shoots together in several days, and I come out there and I take these photos. This is how I do it.
That's pretty wise.
That's what I try to do, at least. Of course, I would, if we're talking about product photography, I would rather, or fine art photography, I would rather prefer you to ship it to my place, and I would take it. I would take the photos here, or sometimes I could meet you in Seattle. I take your artwork and I photograph it here in my home studio. It's a lot more simple, but it also sometimes makes for better results simply because I have a studio set up here and I have the lights, I have everything. I can bring it to you, but it also requires extra time for setting up, that kind of thing. You don't want that, actually, sometimes.
Depends on how big your studio space is also. I work in a refurbished garage, and it's got some decent space to it, so it's easier to take photos in the space. But if your studio space is, maybe it's just a desk, and maybe it's just an easel, then sending it to Maryna is a great idea.
True. And yes, actually, Stephanie's studio is pretty big. But even so, when you're bringing at least 2 lights with stands and soft boxes,
it gets crowded.
Yes. Yeah. So you should definitely check out Stephanie's Instagram profile or mine and go to Reels, check out behind the scenes. I post that kind of stuff all the time. It's at Blomqvist, so BLUMQVIST. You can check out behind the scenes videos there. You will see how much equipment I really need to bring. After that, it's editing, which I talked about before, lots of editing. And I send those versions to you and you look at them. If you don't like something, we talk about this, and I actually try to correct those mistakes that I made. I make it look the way you want it to look. I actually, of course, I give you some unsolicited advice. I can't help myself. But
we're human.
Yes, but of course, I try to make it look the way you want it to look. Also, after everything is done, after I deliver you the final product, I usually deliver it through an online gallery, and you can use that online gallery for up to 6 months. This is where your high resolution photos, which take a lot of space, by the way, they're stored there, and you can access them from any of your devices or your social media or whatever you're using these photos for up to 6 months, which is pretty cool in my opinion.
It's very convenient. I've used it often. Yes.
Well, after that, I also offer amplification in my social media, which is, in my opinion, pretty valuable too, because word of mouth can be in the real world, and it can be on social media. I often post behind the scenes with you, or I post your portraits, or I post your artwork on my social media, and I basically say, hey, people who are not from the art world, who are actually, your potential clients, hey, there is this pretty cool artist who lives in Seattle, by the way. Go check her or him out. His or her artwork is for sale. There you go, you guys. You should definitely try and putting maybe their prints on your walls. You need this, that kind of thing.
A lot of times I get people being like, hey, I could repost your artwork and give you exposure. But with Maryna, I feel like it's actually worth it. I've had clients of hers approach me before, and I've been like, oh, this is fun. So it's a bonus.
Yes, there you go.
It's very good.
I feel pretty good about myself right now.
You should. It's pretty great. That is really great information. If you want to learn more, you can go to Maryna's website. I will have it linked in the show notes. There's an FAQ there. You can contact her there and also see her portfolio of beautiful photos. All right. Is there anything in particular you'd like to promote? Do you have any things that are happening around the end of January or?
Nothing in January, really. Okay. Like I said, Winter is very slow usually, so I started not a new thing, but like a side thing, and I am
Okay.
very focused on it right now. That is my new lifestyle account, um,
Mm.
and it's just basically my name, Maryna Holovanova. You can find it on Instagram, which will be, however, focused on amplification on of a lot of businesses that I work with and artists as well. I like if you go there right now, you will see I posted some of Stephanie's work there. It's basically like a lifestyle account. There also will be a blog on my website dedicated to that. A lot of it is about fashion and shopping, but I hope that it will smoothly come together also with art and design and just slow living, that kind of thing. So this is what I'm spending my time on right now in January. And I'm also focusing on the things that I need to photograph here in my home studio. In February, I'm heading to Oregon, Cannon Beach. So if there are any artists out there, and I know in Cannon Beach there are a lot of artists, if you guys really want to maybe have like a plein air photo shoot, I think Cannon Beach is one of the most beautiful places in the world to have your photos taken. So in between February 10th and 15th, I will be there. If you reach out to me right now, I will be more than happy to look at your artwork and maybe offer a collaboration for you, the kind where I'm offering a photo shoot for you and you're offering some artwork for me in exchange. I can't guarantee you that I will do it, but I think there is a chance I will do it. So
Make a proposal for it. It would be pretty great. This episode will be airing at the end of January, so if you are interested, send her a message right after listening to this.
there you go. So, but I'm heading out only on February 10th, so you'll still have at least a week to figure these things out. Also, to all the listeners of Brushwork podcast, I'm offering 15% off only for the first artist photo session. So like a branding photo session for artists. And you simply need to write down the word brush, BRUSH, in the notes in the form, or if you're using the scheduling tool, just simply use the code brush. It will give 15% off your branding photo shoot.
Wow, that's super kind. How long does this discount last?
Throughout 2023.
Very nice, very nice. All right, wow, y'all, that's a great deal, and you should run and take that. I don't get a discount because I'm a repeat customer. But that's okay. All right, Maryna, it has been so good chatting with you today. Thank you so much for being on Brushwork Podcast.
It's my pleasure and my honor. Like I said before, I was so excited and I'm still excited. You know what? It's a great start of my day right here. I'm just so pumped.
Heck yeah, heck yeah.
Thank you so much for inviting me.